Welcome to the Creative Me podcast. Coming to you from Guernsey in the Channel Islands. This is episode 42, Creating a Community Around Your Business with Jo Milmine. Hello and welcome to the Creative Me podcast. It's Martine here and I'm very excited to bring you an extra special guest today. Jo, are you there? Hello, Jo. Come in, Jo. Oh, we appear to be having technical difficulties.
No, we're not. I'm just winding you up. I knew you would do that.
What do you mean you knew I'd be extra dramatic just for effect? Hello, welcome to the Creative Me podcast, Jo Milmine of Shinybees fame.
Thank you, Martine. I have the feeling it's going to be quite a good laugh today.
No, it's going to be very dull and everyone's going to hate the episode and nobody will listen to it ever again, all because of you. All your fault.
Okay. I'll take that.
So, Jo, I think it would be a good idea to start by you telling the listeners a bit about yourself, and then we can talk about how we know each other, and I'll try not to chip in with any sarcasm or banter.
Okay, so I am Jo Milmine. I'm the host of the multi-award-winning Shinybees podcast.
I'm sorry, could I just chip in and say, did you just say multi-award-winning?
I did. A little bit wanky, isn't it? Multi-award winning. That means I have two, which is more than one. Awards for my podcast.
That's marketing, people. That is marketing right there.
I love it. Love it. And that is a knitting podcast that I started 5 years ago. And I'm sure we'll skip back to that point in a little minute when we talk about how we know each other. And I, after starting my podcast, started two businesses, one of which was a product-based business, selling knitting yarn subscription clubs before they became so much of a thing as they are now, and my current business, which is a consultancy and a training business where I work with business owners that are reaching the point that they need to expand their skills in marketing and also bring people into their business to help them deal with the amount of work they've got. And very, very exciting things going on with that as well that I'm sure we'll get into as we chat. But the name is Business Without the Bollocks.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is my first explicit tagged podcast. Business Without the Bollocks.
So.
It's
No,
bollocks,
because
not a swear word.
No, well, not according to the Sex Pistols or iTunes. So, if they can have Never Mind the Bollocks on there and it's not tagged explicit, then surely I can have Business Without the Bollocks.
And tell me about the bollocks, not literally. Tell me why Business Without the Bollocks. Where did that name come from?
It came to me in a dream. Not really. But it did come to me in an Edinburgh shopping centre.
Oh, that's a dream-ish.
Yeah, it's not the best one. It's the one next to the station, next to Waverley. And
I live in Guernsey. What makes you think I would have been to Edinburgh?
Well, everyone's been to Edinburgh.
No, not me, Guernsey girl. I wish I had.
Oh, right. Well, for all the listeners who have been, the steps where you go down into Edinburgh Waverley, there's a little kind of shopping mall to the right-hand side. And I was in there waiting for someone, and it just sort of came to me. And I'd been going through, and your listeners will probably identify with this, going through this kind of long-winded process of trying to figure out what my kind of elevator pitch was, what my kind of one-liner is, like, what do you do? And I just couldn't figure it out. I just can't get the words for this because it all feels a little bit like it's bollocks. And it just came to me that the people that I love working with, they don't care about that. In fact, they actively dislike the whole Uber-branded, pink and fluffy, very, very slick thing. What they want is to be given really actionable, easy advice that they can put into place that will work quickly without having to spend too much time agonising over it. They just want to be told, business without the bollocks, essentially, none of the fluff. And I thought, you know what, why fight it? Just embrace that, because that's very much my attitude to things. So.
And if that's your attitude to things, then the title, the name of your business should absolutely reflect that. And you couldn't do that any better, really. So that's your business, and that's a bit about you. What about us? Oh, we sound like a couple. What about us? When did we meet, Jo? I feel like I've known you like all my life.
I know I have that effect on people, to be honest.
Yes, you do. I can definitely say that you do. How long's it been? What, 7 years, something like that? 10 years? 25 years? 30 years? Well, we're not old enough for that, obviously. But
obviously,
it's been a long time.
It has been a long time. It was around about October or November 2010 when I first listened to the iMake podcast.
My very first podcast.
Your very first podcast.
And now please take a moment to say how wonderful that was. That would be good.
It was pretty amazing. Like, I googled, this is how good it was. I googled craft podcast, and you were number 1 on the list at only episode 7. Yes, you were.
And I didn't even know what SEO was at that point.
Mm-hmm. And I was making, as you do, when you get a bit. I've just left the Air Force, and I'd got a bit of free time, so I thought I'd make everyone's Christmas presents. You know, that thing that we all go through as crafters.
Oh, do it once, never again.
Absolutely. And I basically found your podcast to be listening to whilst I was making stuff, listened to all of the episodes, decided to email you and say hi and ask for some help with a knitting pattern that my friend was stuck on.
Oh, yes, I remember. Yes.
And you referred me to our mutual friend, Kate.
Yes, now, the lovely, who would have been the lovely Kate on the iMake podcast.
She is.
Yeah.
And it's still on iTunes, so if you go back, the lovely Kate does do some roving reporting and does pop up a few times in the podcast. Kate subsequently, several years down the line, became my business partner in the subscription box for a while. But that's how we ended up chatting, and I started a blog and I asked you for feedback on it, and then you bullied me into starting a podcast, I believe is how it went.
That pretty much sounds like me. I'm that kind of girl, what can I say? And sorry, rewinding back to the start of the show, was that a multi-award-winning podcast that I bullied you into starting?
It was. You can take that one.
I'm taking it.
It's all your fault. So, yeah, as you know, you helped me get started with all of the tech and getting everything set up into iTunes and things whilst I was in South Africa. And I started my podcast in 2012. So, yeah, we go way back.
We do. And these days, it's almost like we share an office, actually. I should point out that Jo's in the UK, or the mainland, as us Guerns like to call it, and I'm obviously in Guernsey. But we chat online almost on a daily basis, I would say, don't we? Because we are accountability partners.
We are, and it's usually work chat, in fairness, but sometimes we do like to just send each other silly gifs or pictures of Paul Rudd. He's my favourite to send. Yes,
so. I tend to send Tom Hiddleston. I would say that's my preference in terms of silly gifs. Him with kittens generally is a good thing.
Yeah.
Did we digress? How unlike us. So the way we communicate, which I think for anyone who works at home on their own, I think it's really useful, is we've got a Slack channel set up. And so I've got Slack on my desktop. Do you tend to work off your desktop or your phone?
At my desktop, so...
Yeah. So occasionally, when you're working away and you're thinking, I'd really like to bounce an idea off one of my invisible colleagues, since I'm I'm going to say it, solopreneur.
Oh, hideous.
Since I'm actually doing air quotes, even though this is an audio podcast. I'm a solopreneur, so you can't, bounce an idea off someone. So I just get on Slack and ping you a message and go, hey, what about this? And you'll go, yeah, do it. And it's done. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think you talked when you first... in fact, I bullied you into starting this podcast, I think it was. I think you turned round and
absolutely.
I was like, no, I'm ready for some more now. You need to do a podcast.
Yep.
And I think it was episode 1 or 2, you were actually talking about accountability partners and how that can work, and discussing our kind of accountability relationship, which we've gone on for quite a while now.
I'll make sure I link to it in the show notes, but that episode off the top of my head was called Group Hugs Optional, which I'm sure you must have inspired at some point. We could talk a bit about accountability partnerships, but I've covered it in quite a few episodes, to be honest. All I would say is it's so valuable when you're working on your own to be able to have somebody who you can just bounce ideas off. It's certainly brought me a lot of fun, banter, and value as well. And I hope you feel the same. Now would be a good time to say yes.
Yes.
At this point in the interview, Jo wandered over to the window to have a look out and give me a running commentary on what the noise was outside. I was going to cut this out and shove it in as an outtake, but actually the resulting conversation about branding was quite interesting, so I've chosen to leave it in. I hope you enjoy.
I wasn't lying, like half my estate isn't built yet. It's some guy with a digger.
It is some guy with a digger.
Let me just quickly look out the window.
No, it's fine. Give me a running commentary.
So it is a really big yellow skip that says Lenny on the side of it.
It's
a big blue skip dragger lorry thing. It seems to be a special arrangement.
Wow.
It's got a special arm for putting this huge skip on the back of it, but it's up now, so he should be gone in a couple of minutes.
That's cool.
It is, yeah, very colourful. Blue and yellow, very nice.
Is the skip called Lenny?
Very PowerPoint.
Very PowerPoint.
I don't know if the skip is personally called Lenny or whether it's the company that's called Lenny, but either way, I think that's a great kind of, something a bit different really for your marketing if you're a skip guy or girl.
Or girl, yeah. Giving your skip a bit of personality, a bit of humanity.
Yeah, it's like the Virgin vans, Virgin Media. Do you even have that in Guernsey?
No.
All right, this will be lost on you, but for anyone who doesn't live in Guernsey, when they put their names, they call them like Marlon Vando and stuff like that. They put their names on the front of them. It's kind of like Eddie Stobart, but not as cool.
Yeah, if we don't have Virgin, we're unlikely to have Eddie Stobart.
Goodness, have you never... Everyone else knows what I mean. Everybody else. You're just out of the in-joke.
No, I do know what you mean because I've seen them, wait for this, on the television. We have televisions in Guernsey. You'll be pleased to hear. Yes. Yes, no, I do know who you mean. But when you see the size of our roads, you'll go, oh yes, all right, that makes sense. Our roads are very narrow. Do you know what the speed limit in Guernsey is?
Isn't it something crazy like 20?
It's 35.
35. May as well be 20.
Well, no, there are areas that it is 20. 35 on the main roads.
Love it.
You're going to have some fun because Jo is coming on a visit very soon, which is exciting. I'm going to indoctrinate you into all things Guernsey.
I'm so excited because I heard all about Guernsey on the iMake podcast.
Yes.
And so I always wanted to go and visit, and now I really am going visiting actual Martine off the iMake podcast.
I know, it's just a bit too much.
It is, I'm so excited. I'm a proper fangirling.
I'm just having a little blush right now. I'm going to be feeding you all sorts of local food and taking you around the many, wait for it, museums that we have.
I love that. I love a museum.
And we'll probably have to visit a German fortification at some point. I know, you can't wait, right?
I know, it's going to be ace. I'm ex-Air Force. I love me some military history.
And at this point, we decided to get back on topic. Jo and I thought it'd be a good idea to have a chat about Facebook groups today, because we both have Facebook groups. I've talked about mine a bit on the show before. And actually, I'll be honest, it was Jo who inspired me. You see, there's a bit of a two-way thing going. We inspire each other, and that's what a good accountability partnership does. But it was Jo who kind of gave me the kick. See how that's gone from inspiration to giving me the kick to start my own Facebook group. And I just thought it would be really good to talk about how you feel your Facebook group has benefited your business, and I can sort of chat about the same thing as well for mine. So tell us about your Facebook group, first of all.
Cool. So my Facebook group is somewhat unsurprisingly called Business Without the Bollocks. I'll say it quietly so iTunes can't hear me say it.
Yeah, Business Without the Bollocks.
Without the Bollocks. And from when it started, it's gone through a couple of iterations actually in terms of what it was called and the focus and the kind of branding of it. And it still is in an iteration of that, to be quite honest. And I just found that working through that whole process to find my people, the kind of people that I definitely wanted to be working with, um, was really interesting, and making the group has definitely helped me do that. So essentially, I started a group because I wanted to bring together people that I'd worked with and people that I'd helped in some way, and other people who wanted to run an online business but were just sick of all of the stuff that's out there, because there's so much information and we get pumped with it all the time. And quite often you'll click on a blog post and you get there and you think, well, you've not even answered the question. You know, you can be looking around for advice for a while and not find it. And also, running a business can be pretty lonely at times. I mean, we're all right because we have each other. But a lot of other people don't, you know. And quite often, if you think about running your business, you're like, you might be doing it after work, so you don't get a chance to get out and meet other people doing the same thing as you. And it gets into this situation where you get into the spiral of death, where you decide that whatever you were doing, you know, you have no meaning in life, you have an existential crisis, everything you've ever produced is worthless, and you just kind of wind yourself up because you're on your own, so there's no one to kind of slap you around the face with a kipper and tell you to stop it. And I just found that people really needed that kind of community of people who had the same attitude as them. And I very much wanted it to be that it was people with that particular attitude where we're all focused on helping each other and making business relationships, because business does move at the speed of relationships, and getting that support from a community aspect, but also finding new opportunities and opportunities to grow and learn new stuff. So I found that a Facebook group was, at this point in kind of time, was the least friction option for people. A lot of people are already on there. It's on their phones. They're in Facebook anyway, which can be a challenge a little bit when you're competing with trampoline and T-Rexes, which is always my favourite. I love trampoline and T-Rex. People in T-Rex outfits trampoline, and it's so funny.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It's totally a thing.
I've made a note to Google that.
You should. I should find it, then we can embed it into the show notes, because it's really funny.
Yeah, and relevant.
It is, totally, because you need a little bit of an escape sometimes. But I just found that was a really kind of powerful way to bring people together, because at the moment I'm going through a big rebrand of what I'm doing, and I don't have a website, I don't have a blog, I don't even have a podcast for this. I just have my Facebook group. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that as a tactic necessarily, because if Facebook shuts my group down, I'm a little bit screwed. I have an email list, but most of what I do is on there at the moment, because I'm in this era of rebranding and figuring out what I'm offering, and I don't want to build things for the sake of having something to send people to if it's not the right thing. That's bollocks. It's a waste of my time. So I wanted to get people together first, so I could really dig into what they're struggling with and what they need help with, so I could figure out what I want to do and what they need and put something together from that. But that's not to say that I haven't been making money, got clients, run a retreat, and loads of other things in the meantime that's come directly from that group as my one way of getting people in, apart from word of mouth, and a lot of people are word of mouth too. So I think that's a bit of a kind of long explanation of why I think it's a great thing. But what has been your kind of experience from you starting your group?
I just want to pick up on one thing in particular that you said, because it's the one that resonates with me in particular, and that's about observing the people who are members of your Facebook group and seeing what their pain points are and what their needs are. And for me, as a content producer, that has really informed a lot of my blog posts, podcasts, that sort of thing. And also now it's informing the online courses that I'm writing. So for that alone, as a small business owner, having a Facebook group is totally invaluable. I mean, it's just fantastic, and I'm so glad I did it. And here's where I get a little bit ranty about people fixating on the number of people they've got on their email list or in their Facebook group. Can we all just stop fixating on numbers? Can we just stop right now? Can we do that? Can we make that a thing? The numbers don't matter, do they?
No, they don't. They don't, because it's not about the numbers, it's about the buyers.
Yes.
You can have a really small group or a really small list and be making a really tidy living off that, because You are providing exactly what they need, exactly when they need it, in the form that they need it. And you have that relationship with them because you're in your group, you're giving them value, you're helping them out, you're making it a nice place to be. You are hosting the best party on Facebook when it comes to business. So when it comes to them looking for someone to help with the stuff, they're not going to go Google it for some random that they don't know. They're just going to go, right, Jo can sort me out with that, Martine can sort me out with that, happy days.
Precisely. And actually, talking about sort of buyers being the important number, Facebook groups do convert like crazy. I mean, your business retreat is a classic example. Do you want to tell us a bit about the retreat? Because I'm not sure I've mentioned it on the show before. Please don't tell them about how much gin I drank. If we could avoid discussing that on the show, that might be a good idea. But tell us about the business retreat and how that relates to your Facebook group.
Cool. Yeah, we did have a lovely time, didn't we? And essentially, I had the idea of having a business retreat, and people had mentioned things before, and I'd personally been aware for business conferences and things and knew how important they were in terms of just lifting your kind of confidence and making you think bigger about what you can achieve and being around other people that get how exciting lead magnets are. And I put it out there in the group and said, I'm thinking of doing a retreat, who's interested? And then loads of people chipped in and said they were interested. And at this point, my group was probably about 60 people. So I started putting together some ideas for it. I'm ex-military. I love organising events. It's super easy for me. So I put together all of the ideas, came up with a price point that I was comfortable with, that was achievable because it was quite a short time frame. We were talking probably October and the retreat was in January. So there was not much time at all. Converse with the retreat I'm organising for next year, which I'm already on and is pretty much done. And I just made an easy sales page, a hidden page on my podcast website, the one that I've already got, because obviously I don't have one for Business Without the Bollocks yet. And made a sales page, put the link in the group and said, there you go, here are the details. If you want to get involved, crack on. And I sold out the retreat in probably a week. And at that point, I still only had about 70 or 80 people in the group. So it was more or less a kind of like 30% conversion rate on the numbers.
That's insane.
It is. But the people that know me, they've been in there for a long time. I've been helping them week in, week out with their business. And they wanted to come and meet the other people they've been talking to and also spend time with me to get the plan sorted for the year. So don't underestimate how powerful just a little group and being there every day and being there for people can be, because it's at that you don't get that kind of conversion rate.
No, absolutely not. I mean, that's a massive success rate, and the event itself was fantastic. I got on a plane and we stayed in a castle. I want to say it wasn't quite a castle; it was a stately home, wasn't it?
It was a grade 2 listed mansion house, essentially. The castle is for this year because I need more space because more people want to come.
Okay,
and
so
my group is still not massive. So.
You're going from a stately home to a castle. I am loving your work.
You've got to inspire people. You've got to make people feel good if you want to improve their confidence and make them feel the power to change things and do better work and achieve what they want. You can't take them to some scummy hotel in central Manchester. You've got to make them feel like they are Lord and Lady of the Manor.
Definitely. And I can say firsthand that I felt like Lady of the Manor, for sure. It was a fantastic event. But I'm still kind of gobsmacked with that conversion rate of roughly 30%. I mean, that, you know, if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, yeah, I might start a Facebook group, but I reckon I could only get like 60, 70 people maximum, or 20, 30 or whatever, you know, just listen to those numbers. It can be so very important and useful and valuable to have a group. I just want to really reinforce that. That being said, whenever I talk about Facebook groups, I always like to do the kind of word of warning about building your house on other people's land. Do you want to add something there?
Yeah, definitely. That is a big concern. And I don't, as I said at the beginning, I don't recommend this to be a one-stop strategy for you doing what you want to do. It was always an interim strategy for me. It was always, let me go figure out what these people want, how I can help them, how I can become indispensable to them ideally, so that whatever I do build, because I'm very time pressured, I have 2 children, my husband works overseas, and I'm trying to run a business, I have very, very short amounts of time. So what I don't want to do is waste my time making bollocks that people don't want. Okay, it has to be what they need. So for that purpose, to go and find out exactly what they need and build that relationship, it is brilliant. However, I am in the process of building out a membership site to support these people on my own land, with my own rules, where nobody can mess with any algorithms or shut down my group and shut down my business overnight. So it is definitely not a long-term strategy to be the only place that you are. You definitely need somewhere else, your own land, to send them to. But if you want to figure out what that's going to look like short term, then I think it's a great strategy.
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. I think a Facebook group is just one tool in a much wider toolkit for your business and for the marketing of your business. I think it's a really important tool at the moment, but you need to be funneling your group members to either a membership site, your email list, your actual website, whatever it is. It's your own land. And I think that's a really important message. That's a minor point, but one that people need to be aware of. Get yourself a Facebook group.
Definitely. And that can stay there as your free lead-in offer and a free community for as long as you want. But you need to be aware that Facebook are already talking that they're running out of ad space and the ads are going to be coming into groups soon. Which sounds really good until you realise that someone else, your competitor, could advertise directly to your people in your group.
Do you think that will be the death of groups?
I don't think it'll be the death of groups forever, because we're so used to seeing advertising now. People block a lot of it out, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yes.
But it is a big risk, isn't it, when you've built this community, particularly not so much for a free community, because it's free, it's there. It's not as big a deal. But if you are, for instance, doing an online course where somebody is paid to be part of your Facebook community, well, paid for the course and given a free community to go with the course, but essentially it's a paid group. You're not allowed to do paid groups on Facebook. It's against the terms and conditions. But if it's a free group that goes with a paid program and only those people can get in...
That's a paid group, I'm afraid.
It is a paid group. But in terms of how you word it, it's not.
Yes,
and they kind of let that go.
Yeah.
But if you have someone who's paid a lot of money for a course, and some courses are very, very expensive, and they only have a Facebook group as the community aspect, and then your competitors can come straight in and advertise to your paying customers.
Oh, yeah, that's not good at all.
And the clutter and everything that's going on with that. I'm sorry, but for a paid program, I wouldn't recommend doing a Facebook group at this stage, because there are plans to turn them on their head, probably within the year. So
yeah, that's definitely a word of warning for any course creators or anyone producing any sort of type of premium content that wants to attach some sort of community to that. I think that's a very good call.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, all day long, I will always have a free Facebook group.
Yes, me too.
Because the results speak for themselves. But for paid stuff, I would look at something like Slack or other options. But like you said, that could be a whole other podcast in itself, couldn't it?
Definitely. Question for you then. As someone who's been running a Facebook group for a good while now, what challenges do you face in running that group? What's tricky?
Oh, that's a really good question, because that's probably one of the big concerns that people have with starting a Facebook group is like, how do you manage all of that? What if it gets really big really quickly? What issues can you face? And mine, again, I think because I've been very specific about where I go and get my people from, I haven't had that many, to be honest. And my first and number one rule is, and a rule that I have in there is don't be a dick, is one of my rules on the thing and on the description. And that stands. So have a set of rules that people know the left and right of arc of how they're expected to behave is my first tip for that. Secondly, you do get the odd one or two who are just doing this link littering thing. I call it link littering. I'm going to trademark that maybe. But
it's a hashtag waiting to happen. Hashtag totally link littering.
Hashtag link littering. And what they do is they join your group and they have a business and they come in and they offer no value, they don't interact, they don't answer questions, they don't post any questions themselves. They come in and drop a link to their thing and say, PM me for business info, PM me to join my group. to join my MLM or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with MLM. And there's nothing wrong with advertising your business on the right day, according to the rules of the group. But what annoys me and what leads to an instant block, basically, is if someone comes in and just drops a in inverted commas, business opportunity in there when they've literally just joined. They've no idea what anyone in that group is about, what they want. It's a waste of time. Don't do that. If you're going to use Facebook groups for marketing, don't join a group and then go and put something that no one's going to take. It's like walking into a pub and opening your Mac and saying, do you want to buy a watch? Nobody's going to take you up on that. And that can bring down the value of your group, and it annoys your members. So at the top of my group, I have a guy holding a tin of spam. And I've literally, like, the welcome messages, cheeky spammers, if you're thinking about coming in and dropping in a link and not offering any value, then don't bother. You'll be deleted and blocked straight away. And I don't care. They get deleted and blocked. If they can't read the rules, they're not going to offer value to your membership, well, your membership of your group. So don't bother entertaining them. Just delete them and block them. End of. You've got to protect the people that are in there. So that's my kind of filter for them.
Yeah.
And since putting that up, I've had the odd one.
Yeah.
But I just delete them and block them. And if people come in and they're doing advertising and they've actually introduced themselves to start with, but then they come in and just drop links, I do remind them and say, look, if you want to advertise things, it's on this day, but please don't do it otherwise, because it's for support for business questions. And they're fine about that. But if they come in and they haven't even read the rules, they get blocked. They're not my people if they can't read rules.
Exactly. And that really links back to this whole not being too focused on the numbers and things like that. Mm-hmm. You want your people in your group. You want to interact with them and you want to give them value. So I think that's really useful. And can I ask another question? Because this picture of this guy with spam, isn't he dressed? Is he holding spam or is he dressed as spam?
I think he might have a spam costume on.
Yes, I think he's actually wearing a spam costume.
I think he's wearing a spam tin, yeah. So it's a good picture. I mean, I'm very much of the humour. I like that kind of stuff, which is why... Yes. I mean, I don't go down the route of having highly branded images for all of my images because being funny is kind of my brand.
Yes,
so we
exactly.
have something on a Friday called the F it bucket.
Yes.
You can do the rhyming. That's definitely explicit, so we're not going to say that word. And the F it bucket came from one of my members who, it was a saying that she said, it's like, I'm going to throw it all in the F it bucket. So I have a bucket with a bald cap with a shower cap on. That isn't part of my branding at all. But being funny and having funny images for that and taking the things that they bring to the group and making it something for the whole community is. Yeah. So that's what I do, where I know you take a much more beautiful approach to your post.
What can I say? You're funny, I'm pretty.
So we make a good team, Martin.
Absolutely. But seriously, humour is absolutely on brand for you. And I think it's really important to inject some of your personality into your group. And I have to say, I always get much more interaction. If I do share something slightly ranty, people seem to like it when I'm a bit ranty and a bit sarcastic. That's what they enjoy. Not so much the humour, the rants and the sarcasm. But you are definitely humour is part of your brand. So how do you inject your personality and quirks and things like that into your group? How do you do that?
Be unapologetically me.
Yes.
Basically, I write how I speak. I don't filter what I say. In terms of, what will they think of this? Because I only want to work with people that I can just be me with, that can take me as I come, because without being too wanky about it and getting into very best versions of our awesome self, if you're trying to be something else, it's just more work, And I'm like, this is how I am. This is what I offer. I know I'm really good at this. And if you don't like the information that I present, done in this way, that is totally cool. That's completely, I have no problem with that, but I'm not going to make myself be really kind of pretty and organised and beautiful and talk in a flowery way when that's just not what I talk like. So we have a little bit of swearing in my group, and we are very kind of supportive, but we don't fluff around. Nobody uses the word hun as a for instance in that group, and that's how I attract the people that I want in there, that I know I can have a really great relationship with. Relationships and business, they interact it's that they're connected. So you need to have good relationships for a good business. And I only want to be in relationships with people that are my people. So I don't know if that really answers the question.
No, it does. It really does. It's about being 100% you as opposed to the best version of your most awesome self. Just for fun later on, I think I'm going to drop into your Facebook group and just go #girlboss just to see what happens.
See what they do to you.
I think I'll be lynched. You will not be welcome in this group any longer if you say #girlboss.
They're not totally militant, but they just don't see themselves as girls. And there are blokes in there as well, so some builders in there. So I don't think they're really a #girlboss.
Brilliant. Well, if you start dropping Instagram scissors and peonies everywhere, you're just not doing what your audience wants. So it's exactly the right thing to do. It's a bit, it's not to say there's anything wrong with Instagram scissors and peonies. If that's you, that's absolutely, that's great. Mm-hmm. #girlboss, go for your life. But it's about being yourself, and people obviously like that.
Yeah, definitely. And it isn't and disparaging against anyone's approach. I'm like, the only time I will be disparaging is if you're trying to be something that you're not.
Yes.
If you are all about the flowers and beautiful things and that's your personality, then absolutely go for that as your tone in your group, definitely.
And that person's doing exactly the same as what you're doing. They're being themselves, so that's exactly right. So
exactly.
Be yourself. Well, what a great way to end the show. #be your best awesome self.
I love it.
Okay. Listen, this has been great. We should talk more often. Oh, wait, no, we do that quite a bit anyway. Let's do a nice professional roundup of the show by saying, Jo, where can people find you online?
So if you are of the knitting persuasion, you'll find my knitting stuff at shinybees.com. If you want to come and join Business Without the Bollocks, you'll find that on Facebook at Facebook/group/Business Without the Bollocks. I also have a Business Without the Bollocks website, businesswithoutthebollocks.com. So if you want to get on my list to find out what is coming up next, spoiler, I am opening a membership very soon, then you can get on there.
Amazing. And I really, 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 really recommend you join Business Without the Bollocks and also get on Jo's list because she's got some very exciting things coming up. And I will just suggest that if you want to join my group, it's thelightbulb.club because I have a fancy URL. Don't tell anyone, but I'm quite fancy, really. And I also have a course, which I've mentioned before. If you're interested in starting your own Facebook group, go to thelightbulbacademy.com and you'll find a course there called Start a Facebook Group for Your Business and check it out because it will get you started with this fantastic thing of Facebook groups. Okie dokie. Thank you for coming on the show, Jo.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been really, really good fun.
Yeah, we've had a giggle and I'm not going to edit very much at all, just so you know. There's going to be plenty of banter in this episode. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure and I'm now going to turn the call recorder off. Thanks to Jo for being a brilliant guest. I'm going to wrap up the show by saying thanks for tuning in and keep listening. After the music, you might hear a couple of outtakes.
I'm so sorry if you're editing.
Oh, don't worry. And actually, I've taken a lot of online courses. I've spent a lot of money on online courses because learning, quite frankly, is one of my favourite things. Oh, hello, dog. Hello, dog. Hi.
That's the postman.
Another outtake. Should we let the barking just happen?
Cease.
Has. Yes, I'll make sure I link to the episode in the show notes, but off the top of... Oh.
Sorry, I live on a building site, literally.
Clearly. Actually, we should probably do a better goodbye than that. Jo, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Will you come again? Please come again.
I will. We can find lots of good stuff to talk about.
Excellent. Why don't we should totally do a podcast together one day sometime.
I think we should. I think probably it's going to happen when we're in Guernsey. If the wine is out and the butter is out, then not the wine butter each other up. But when You said I could come and have some butter, so
Some Guernsey butter,
some
yes.
Guernsey butter,
The yellowest
so, yeah.
butter in all the land. Well, if the wine and the butter come out, then you never know. There might be a joint podcast project coming your way soon.
Just put it out there.
Oh, brilliant.